These are some blush palettes. Well, actually, that's a lipstick palette, but I like using it as a blush palette. And then these are other palettes from my collection that I haven't touched in a really long time, or I'm not too sure I want to keep. And these are going in all of these. Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Melissa, and that was the intro from my very first Lucky Bag video. And I uploaded that in January 2019, anticipating that I would finish it by the end of the year. And some things happened along the way. Some things got delayed. I kind of lost the pace. It has taken me a long time to complete this project. Part of it was I did a home renovation in between, and that kind of derailed my schedule a little bit. And also, I just kind of lost my mojo for this project right in the middle of it. So I was determined to finish it, and I'm really glad I did. So this video is all about lessons I learned while doing that project, and also answering questions that you all had. I appreciate everyone who left me a question, or people who liked a question that was already down. So I do appreciate your feedback there. I think it'll make for an interesting video. So many of you left comments on that last video about how much you enjoyed this series. And I was really touched by that, because I thought at one point I felt like maybe the interest in this series was waning, and you know, should I finish it? Should I not finish it? And I got a lot of encouragement from you all to finish it. An interesting comment from one person was, I love the Lucky Bag series. I think you're generating great content. I don't know that I could declutter that slowly though. And I will tell you that there is a method to the madness to declutter that slowly, and to really look at each product and try it again and see how you feel about it, because I know for a fact there were some things that I would have decluttered without trying it again, based on this preconceived notion I had in the back of my head that I would have decluttered it. And a couple of those, I'm glad I didn't. So very interesting. Such an interesting dynamic, decluttering. And quite a few of you have asked me if I'm getting the new Natasha Denona palette, and check. I've ordered it. It should be arriving next week. It has my name written all over it, and I can't wait to dive into that. Let's start with a few lessons I learned before I get into some of the questions that you all had for me. One of the reasons why I started this project was I felt like I had so many foundations, and so many of them were just not right for me anymore. I started using Curology probably 3 years ago. There was like a brightening ingredient in there, and it definitely changed my skin tone. A lot of the foundations that I had just were like too dark for me now. And I felt like I really needed to like work my way through all the foundations. And that's kind of what started me thinking about this project. So I thought, wow, I'll just pull those, you know, and add stuff that I'm not sure I really want to keep anymore, and we'll go through it. So that's how this idea kind of came about. Another thing I learned from doing this project is I am really firmly in team cool toned eyeshadows. Like, don't give me a warm tone eyeshadow. Don't give me orangey, red, burgundies. Like, no thank you. They don't work for me. I need something that is cool toned or neutral, and it can have some shimmer in it. It can be matte, but it definitely has to be in that cool tone camp. I think back in the day, eyeshadow palettes were not released in the volume that they're being released today. They were released, I think, in a more thoughtful manner, and so it was more of an event. And so you know, as a consumer and a makeup lover, you would be like, yes, I cannot wait for such and so eyeshadow palette to be released. And as soon as it came on the market, you were buying it, whether it really was a good match for you or not. Over time, I think the makeup companies kind of felt the urgency to continue to pump out new. And it really changed the landscape of makeup and makeup consumerism. And I think people finally kind of got fatigued with all like the new, people were just tired of all the new releases, and they all started looking the same. And that's how I felt, like everything started looking the same. Nothing seemed like a new idea, nothing was fresh, and I really pulled back. Another lesson I learned going through all of these products in these Lucky Bags is that cream products are not a good investment. They dry out quicker than you can use them, especially if you are someone who collects makeup or has a lot of makeup or likes consuming a lot of makeup. Cream products are not gonna hold long term. And a prime example of that was the ColourPop Super Shock eyeshadow like singles. And they were like a kind of like had a gel base to them, and they were really cool to use, like fun to use, but they dried up pretty quickly. Usually like the ones in a pot, they tend to go the fastest. They tend to dry up the fastest, whereas the eyeshadow sticks, those tend to last a little bit longer. And I think the last lesson I learned from all of this is sometimes less is more. And there is freedom in having a smaller collection, where a larger collection can end up almost feeling like a burden. You have so much to keep track of, like in your head, to store, to organize. It becomes like a whole thing. And keeping my makeup collection a little bit smaller feels better to me, feels a little bit more natural to me. Do I still have a lot of makeup? Why, yes, I do. I'm not done decluttering, but I'm taking a break from decluttering. And as I recently did with my lipstick collection, I even pared that way down. I had a lot in there that I kept, that I liked from the Lucky Bags, and then I went back through it and really went after it pretty hard and narrowed it down. Probably cut it in half. So let's get to some of your questions. What was your top rediscovered gem? And I thought, when I saw that question, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a face of like some of my favorite rediscovered gems. And I have 3 products that I use today that I thought, wow, these are awesome. I remember when I took these out of the bag and tried them, and I fell like in love with them, and I was like, why haven't I been using these? These are awesome. And one was a palette that I hadn't even used. I'm not even sure, maybe I had swatched it. It's a limited edition palette from Bobbi Brown, and it is the Luxe Nudes, and it is just such a great smaller palette with gray and cool tone. This is a little warm maybe, but not too warm that I couldn't use it mixed with some of these other cool tones. And when I took this out and started using it, I found myself reaching for it all the time. It was something that I was like, whenever I was getting ready for work in the morning, this was quick and easy, and I always got a work appropriate look out of it. And it just was so easy to use. And you know, you could just do a matte look. You could do a simple one shadow look. Like this is great for like a one shadow look. These darker colors are good kind of as a liner and outer corner accent. Yes. So I pulled this out, and this is what I'm wearing today on my eyes for this video because I couldn't stop using this. I used it so much. Another product that I used almost nonstop as soon as I opened it and like tested it out again, and it was this cheek product from Pixi. It's the, oh gosh, it's so hard to read. Like Pixi, could you put a little contrast in your labels so us old girls can read? Okay, this is called a beauty bronzer, and this is in Subtly Sunkissed. I am wearing it on my cheeks today. That glow is from this product. I have no highlighter on. It's just kind of the perfect bronzy, blushy look. I love it. I used it so much, I have hit major pan on this product. I had not hit pan on this at all when I took it out of the Lucky Bag, and I used it so much I hit pan, and I'm still using it. And the third and final product is what I'm wearing on my lips, and this is a super lustrous lipstick from Revlon, and the shade is Mauve Night. This was the thing I couldn't stop wearing. When I took this out of the bag and I tried it on, and I was like, oh, I love that lipstick. And that's what I reached for almost 2 months. Every time I was doing my makeup, I'm like, oh, let me put Mauve Night on. Another question I got was, did you love something that you didn't love the first time around? And I'm going to include a palette that kind of falls into this category. And this is something I definitely would have decluttered without even trying it again. And it is another limited edition palette. This one's from Tarte. It's Golden Days and Sultry Nights. It's kind of a weird palette. When you look at it, you're like, what is so special about this? And really what is so special about this is really that like crease transition shade is one of the best I've ever run into. And I like that it has that lighter brow highlight. It's just a creamy white brow highlight, and just couple it with some of these shimmery colors. Like, this is awesome. This is kind of a good like little summer turquoise color. Yeah, and a little like, I don't know if you can see that. It's a pretty pale like champagne color. And I pulled this out in particular because I know I would have decluttered it without even trying it, because I remember the first time around I was like, it's nothing special. Kate really liked it. We shared it. She held it most of the time, and she's like, I'm done, you know, would you like this back? And I'm like, sure, I'll take it back. And I never used it. And then when I was doing the Lucky Bags, I'm like, okay, well, let me see how I really feel about this. Another question was, is there a discontinued product that you wish wasn't discontinued? And probably yes. There are a couple palettes that I wish weren't discontinued. Certainly, I think it was a mistake for them to discontinue this original Naked palette. I think there is a lot to love there. So I think Urban Decay also made a mistake discontinuing this as soon as it did. I think it is probably one of their best palettes they've ever made. This Naked smoked palette. Pretty controversial stuff. A lot of people didn't like it, but I think it's one of their best in their Naked series. And then there's two that I've talked about on and off on this channel a lot, but I haven't talked about them recently. The first one is from Japanesque, and this is the Pixelated Color palette. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I love this little matte section because it takes care of the basics, and then you jazz it up with all these. And there's like good neutrals here for work, so that's awesome. And of course, probably the first palette that I got that I ever like really fell in love with, my first love, and it's from Tarte. It's the Aqua Lilies for Tarte. I loved the packaging, and it was probably the first time they released this style palette. It's like a total face palette. Oh my goodness. My love for this palette is tremendous. And it has just great neutrals, nice dark shade here, a little pop of color, great cheek color. It's got it all. But recently, I also discovered that one of my very favorite lipsticks has been discontinued. And it's this one from YSL. It's this like beautiful pink lipstick. I don't know. They jerk you around with the names here. And it was not limited edition, but it's one of their matte ones, and it's just quite possibly one of the most gorgeous things ever. Oh, and you had to ask, this little dual-ended lipstick from Wander Beauty that has these two phenomenal colors in it. Such a wonderful travel lipstick. I'll stop there. I could probably talk for a long time about stuff that's been discontinued that I wish hadn't been discontinued. Okay, this is more of a comment, and I agree 100%. I will be so happy when all the orange and red eyeshadow palettes go out of style. Every time I think it's gonna happen, someone pops back out with it. Like when I saw that Natasha Denona had this beautiful glam palette, it's neutrals and cool tones, I was like, maybe that means that we're heading away from this. And then I saw that Marc Jacobs released a cherries palette. Really? Do we need another cherries palette? No, thank you. Are there any products that you decluttered that you wish you still had, or did you end up regretting anything you decluttered? No. I actually saved everything so I could have that opportunity to go back if I wanted to. But in reviewing this, what I did declutter for this video, no. There's nothing there that I'm sad about getting rid of. Someone wanted to know what my thoughts were on the Stila primer, the one from the last video that has the multiple colors in it. Also, have you changed your mind about any of the Lucky products you kept? So let's talk about the Stila primer first. I'm not a big primer girl, and I didn't really feel like it did a whole lot for me. I felt like it ended up making me a little greasy by the end of the day. So I don't feel bad about getting rid of that. In terms of products that Lucky products that I wish I had decluttered, I think there are some in my collection that are still lurking about. And I'm gonna have to do something about that. I'm just not sure what and how I'm gonna approach that. So, but yes, there are some things that I was like, yeah, why did I keep that? Mostly in the foundation department. I upload videos every Saturday morning, and I'll include a link to last week's video right up here. And on this side, I'll include the Lucky Bag series playlist in case you want to kind of run your way through that and look at some of the things that I decluttered along the way. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you real soon.